Hello, everyone. My name is Ross Kim. As mentioned before, you will probably know me as Ross Shrek, which is my name in Teams. That is the incorrect name. Um, I'm here to show you to sort of extend on what we talked about last week. So I made a video last week about the differences among the three main Adobe programs. And now I want to go more in depth in InDesign. So as I mentioned before, Photoshop is a raster-based program. Illustrator is a vector-based program. Now in our material, it says we could use Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, um, for what we're doing in class, but I highly recommend not using Illustrator. And I explained that last week in my video. So the best route to go would be InDesign. And so I want to go delve further in InDesign with you, and I'll show you some of the basics, and I'm going to set up the equivalent of a PPT, but in InDesign. So I'm going to share my screens with you. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, so you should be able to see both my screens. Now I have InDesign open. What we need to do is set up a document, and we need to set it up at the right dimensions. And so I have a document that's set up. These are the dimensions. So I just looked up the proper dimensions for a PPT. And what I got was a ratio of 16 by 9. Okay, that's 2560 by 1600. Okay, so let's go through the process of actually setting that up. So you just go to new document. Okay, and then in the width, we'll go 2560 and then by 1600. Okay, you want to make sure this is the landscape, okay, not portrait orientation. And this is in millimeters. Now you can go through, if you scroll down here, you can choose the number of pages. I guess we'll go with 12 pages to start out. How many columns? Now, what this does is actually sets your guides, but these are permanent guides. So I recommend actually not using them. And I'll explain a bit later on why manually setting your guides would be better. So we're going to have one column, and this will basically have us with only, well, with no guides actually. And then our margins too. We'll set them all at 0, bleed, slug, everything. Okay, so all this is set at 0. So we're going to create. Okay, now I mentioned this before in our last video. If you hold spacebar, and this goes for all three Adobe programs, hold spacebar and you drag, then you can move around your document. Okay. Now, as you can see in my palettes, you can see pages. Okay, so the pages, this shows every page and the arrangement of every page, and you can change the arrangement. So say, for example, if I wanted to move page 12 to, you know, page 2, then I would just drag and drop it. We're not going to do that though. So here is our page. Now, typically what you want to do now, okay, I want to explain some of the tools to you. One tool you're going to use a lot is the text tool. So I have a text tool. Now I can either single click. Click and drag, and then just write basically anything. And I have my text here. Now, you can't see the text because it's the font is way too small. So what you need to do is you need to actually change the font size. So select all, and then we'll change it to say 36, okay. 60, all right. 72. Okay, we can change our font at the top left. A font that I really like is Helvetica New. So we'll use Helvetica New. Okay, and then we have our text. Let's say that we want to make this the title. All right, so I'll just name it title. Okay, and this is our text box. So our text box, you can drag using these handles, drag it the entire width of your slideshow. Now you have these options up here, and you're going to use these a lot when you're working with text. You can, for this text, now you have to understand that this is text. It's different. Okay, so text is the text itself, but text box has different setting. So if I look at text box, you can set it. Now I can set it so the text goes to the very bottom. I can set it so it goes to the middle. I can also justify it so it takes up the entire height of the text box. In this case, what you want to do is you're going to set it at the highest, and then we're going to editing the text, not the text box. Okay, so we're editing the content. We're going to select center because this is the title. And then once we do that, now we have title and it's centered. You can change the height of the text box, and then you can just move the text box. So in this case, let's move it up to here. And now obviously the title is way too high, right? And the title is still too small. So what we need to do is we need to make the text box bigger. So we'll change the height of the text box. Now you can actually do all this using numbers. So if you look at the top left, we have our coordinates, we have X, Y coordinates, and then we have width and height. Right now it's at 166 millimeters. I can change that to 200. And there we go. But actually, before I do that, if you look at the very top left, this is, you can choose, okay, if I'm going to change my coordinates or change the width and height, it's relative to the center right now. What you want to do in this case is make it relative to the very top left. So now if I choose the center, you can see the coordinates X is 1280 by 83. But if you choose the top left, it's 0 by 0. And that's because it's relative to the very top left. So we're going to change that. And then I can change the height, say 200. Okay, so now our text box is, the height is 200. Uh, we want to make the title, we want to put it in the center. So we're going to choose this. This is justification. And we still want to make it larger. So let's make it about 250. Okay, and so we have our title here now. Okay. All right, so we got the title. Now, unlike PowerPoint, you can't just copy and paste into every page. Unfortunately, with InDesign, you're going to have to set, if you copy and paste a text box into a new slide, it's not going to paste it at the same coordinate. So you have to reset it. So you have to go up to the top left, 0 by 0. Okay. Uh, and here it is. Okay, so we have our title. So you'd have to do that for every page. Set the coordinate to 0 by 0. Now, say if I want to, okay, so I have my title here. Now I want to make some shapes. Okay. Well, what you can do is you have these two options here. The first one, now actually last week I mentioned the pen tool, which we use a lot. The pen tool is something that we can use, and this is something, this is like, well, we can also use an Illustrator, which is why I mentioned that pretty much everything you can do in Illustrator, you can do in InDesign. I just made the shape. I can change the shape to, say, black fill. It has no border. There we go. If I want to see, right now you see this blue line. That's the outline of the text box. If you want to view it as it actually is, first off, I like to view at high quality display, but as I mentioned last week, this can slow down your computer if you have a lot of shapes in your document. We'll go high. So we'll go high quality, and then we're going to go to extras, hide frame images. Now we can just see the document as it would be if we exported it. It would look the same way. So that's our shape. In this case, we're not going to use a customized shape. What we're going to use is preset shapes here. So the first one, it says rectangle frame tool. Second one, it says rectangle tool. The difference between these two is rectangle frame tool allows us to import an image into the frame. So if I hold Command and then press D, once again, Zoom slows down my computer by, I think, 10 times. So be patient here. Then you can choose from a number of images. Okay. So say, for example, I want to open up an image here. It's not in there. I open up this image. Okay, that's a drawing of myself that I did in Illustrator. Now, when it opens up the image, it opens it up at its original size. So in this case, the image is not taking up the entire space of the frame. So what we need to do is go up to Object, go to Fitting. Now you have all these options under Fitting. You're going to use these a lot. You can fill frame proportionally. You can fit content proportionally. Okay. You can fit frame to content. You can fit content to frame, okay, which would be vice versa. In this case, we're going to fit content proportionally. Okay, and then once again, we'll go up and put a fitting, and we'll fit content. I'm sorry, fit framed content. Okay, and that's our framed content here. Okay, so that's one way that you can make a shape using images or graphics that you have already pre-made. The second rectangle is not for image, but it's actually for shape itself. So you want to make a, say for example, you want to make a rectangle, and then you want to fill it with black. Okay, there we go. That's it. Now you have your rectangle filled with black. You can change the coordinate. Now, in this case, we're going to change orientation. And we're going to say from the bottom left, because we want to start working from XY axis at 0, 0. And so we're going to go 0 by 0. Okay, okay. So in this case, it's going to be 0 by 16. Now, once again, we can change the width and height. So say I want to make it 150. Oops. Okay, by say 1000. There we go. Okay. This is, let's remove myself. This is basically, we're making a bar chart right here. Okay. So what you can do is you can import, say, an image produced in Tableau or Power BI, and you can make it the entire, you can fit it to this slide, and then what you can do is you can basically trace it using these tools. The good thing about InDesign though is it makes much, lack of a better term, sexier graphics if you know how to use them. You can simply copy paste shapes. Say I want to copy and paste this. I have my smart guides on, so I can change it. Okay, look at that. It looks like it could be a histogram. So on and so forth. Okay, you continue doing that. Now you want to label your XY axes. Say we want to move this not so it's at the very edge because we need space. Then what you can simply do is just make a new text box. Say we want to make this text x-axis. Once again, we have to adjust the text size. Okay, so here's our x-axis. Okay, and we're going to set it. Now we're editing, once again, not the text itself, but the text box. And we're going to go in, select it, and then center it. Okay, so this is for our x-axis. Let's copy and paste this because we also need a y-axis. We're going to go Y. Okay, we can move our x-axis down, and we're going to set it to our 0, 0 coordinate. And stretch it to the entire width. And we're going to move this down to the bottom of our chart. Okay, so that's our x-axis. Our y-axis, we need to rotate. If you go up to one of the handles, now your arrow is going to change. If your arrow is a straight line, then this indicates that you can change the size. But if it's a curved line, you can change the rotation, you can change the degree. If you, for the 45, 90, and so on intervals of degrees, you want to hold shift when you change it. So if you hold shift, it goes to 45, then it goes to 90 automatically. In this case, we'll go to 90. And then we're going to move it. There we go. Now we have our y-axis. Okay. We got our title. We have the content. I'll just copy and paste this to make it look like a real slide. Okay, there we go. So it looks like kind of like a histogram, an example of one. And so there, this is your basics. So if you just follow this guide, you can go further and learn more. You can basically, so I just made basically a bar chart or histogram, but you can also, if you go up to your shapes, you have options. Ellipse tool is another option for you. I realized that, you know, using Tableau or Power BI it's a lot simpler, or even PowerPoint itself. But if you want to make graphics that look more professional, InDesign here is going to be the program to use. Okay, so that pretty much covers what I wanted to cover for this video. If you guys have any questions or anything, you can directly message me, or you know, if you have any requests, just request and I can make another video if there's something specific that you want to do with InDesign. Okay, so stop sharing here, and I will be in touch with you in Teams.